Hey there everyone, this is Laid Off Sick, and I'm going to show you an in-depth look at the Sunset Models 210-4 and the full upgrade that she got. I've always wanted to add a 210-4 to my Santa Fe collections, but didn't really care for the MTH one, and I came across this on eBay for a really good price. Well, after I got it, I realized why it was such a really good price, because the chuff did not work. It ran okay forward and reverse, but the chuff wouldn't work. So I figured it's quite a few years old, it's secondhand. Why not do an upgrade? So let's go full ERR. We'll upgrade the speakers. We'll put a better smoke unit in it. Probably even weather it, because I've never weathered a steam engine, and why not start with this? And it's a good model. It runs well. Well, it does now anyways. It didn't run so well when I got it, but it runs good now. So let's take a look at this thing. Here's the factory electronics from Sunset. It did not have cruise. It had a Lionel sound card in it, and all this was gutted out. You can see just to the right of the electronics there was a metal box there, and that's where the 9-volt battery went. But I popped that metal box off, and you can see the access plate there where the battery went. Also, you can see the magnet on the axle there and the sensor for the Chuff generator. And apparently that's what it went bad, because I couldn't get any chuffs out of it. So that was all completely gutted, thrown in a box, and trash pile for all that stuff, awaiting the new ERR electronics. At the bottom of the photo is the factory speaker from Sunset that was gutted with the rest of the electronics. To the far left is Baby Fat Boys from Lionel. Also is the speaker that ERR includes in their sound kit. To the right of the photo is the full-size Fat Boy speakers, which Lionel uses in several of their engines. And the three different ones in the middle were just various speakers I found on Amazon and eBay. Sound quality is not only based on the quality of the speaker, but the enclosure as well. And this tender is so big that it definitely had room for an enclosure. On the very left is just a cap off a spray paint can, and the other three are Lionel enclosures from different engines. I ended up using the one second in from the left, which is from the Milwaukee Road S3 Lionel put out a few years ago. The second in from the right only fits the Baby Fat Boy, so I had plenty of room. We're going to use the full-size Fat Boys and the enclosure from the Milwaukee Road S3. Well, of course this engine's going to have a KD coupler. Come on, it's me. Did you really think that it wouldn't? Now here's the frame with the battery box and the access cover removed, which happens to be the perfect spot for dual Fat Boys with enclosure. I couldn't have planned that better. I wasn't sure what I was going to do for the holes. The only thing I had to do was cut away some of the flange on the inside of the tender to clear the Fat Boys. But that was a piece of cake. Now here we can see what the inside of the tender looks like after I got it back from Gunrunner John. Everything's nice and neat. He mounted the sound card to the speaker enclosure with some two-way tape. The wires are folded up nice and neat. The plug you see there at the top is where the backup light for the tender plugs in, so the shell can be removed with that plug, and the antenna simply unhooks from the board as well. Sunset didn't mount any pickup rollers to this tender, so John added a center rail pickup to the rear truck of the tender. You can also see the toggle switch towards the left there that he neatly labeled for program run, and there's also a hole in the bottom of the frame where I can access the volume switch to the sound card. The magnet there on that axle you see from the previous Chuff generator serves no purpose, but there's really no reason to take it off, so he just left it on. John used the entire shell, the tender shell, as an antenna for the ERR board, so he swapped out my metal screws for nylon screws that attach the KD coupler conversion mount there, and you can also see the second Fat Boy showing through the bottom where the battery compartment in the tender used to be. Now this is not a picture of my engine here, but it is the Chuff generator that John designed and built and installed into this engine. You can see it requires a tack tape, which he installed on the flywheel, and then two-way tape to mount the generator. It's programmable, so he can set the chuff rate, and it doesn't matter what size diameter drivers you have. You can get an exact 4 chuffs per revolution because you program the thing based on a quarter turn of the wheel. So he set this up. It's 4 chuffs a revolution. It works perfect. There's no magnets, no reed switches. It works much better. And also you've seen on the roller stand that the drivers control the chuff rate, so the tender doesn't need to be moving to get the chuff out of it. Also, as part of this full upgrade package was John's Super Chuffer board. It's a TMCC enhancement board that creates smoke at idle. So when your engine is sitting still, you got full smoke feature like the legacy stuff does. Your original TMCC did not put out smoke when it was set in idle. He also installed an MTH fan-driven smoke unit, as the Sunset came with just a plain old Suze smoke unit. It was not fan driven, nor was it in sync with the chuffs. So by adding the Super Chuffer, now we have tons of smoke. This thing smokes so much, you'll see later when it's sitting on the roller stand, I had to turn it off because you can't work on it with it blowing all that smoke in your face. And an LED headlight was put in, and as part of this board you get the Rule 17 lighting, which means that when you are setting it idle, the headlight goes to dim, and then when you start moving again, it comes back on bright. The next big step for this upgrade was removing the white lettering and numbers. Sunset put white letters and numbers on this, I think by mistake. Now, I've read in some of my books that Santa Fe did substitute white lettering on occasion, but I cannot find any documentation that shows which units or when that exactly was done. Most of them were done in silver lettering, so I wanted to change this to silver, and since I was going to do that, I might as well renumber it. So I used a little acetone on a Q-tip here and removed a couple of those numbers, and you can see, yeah, the numbers are gone, but you can still see where they were. And because I'm going to change that 2 to a 1, I didn't want that to show through. So I was going to have to do something else to make sure that the letters and numbers were completely removed and you couldn't see the old ones through it, even though the decals will pretty much be in the same exact location. That 1 is quite a bit different shape than the 2, so we didn't want to see that. So how did I get the lettering and numbering completely off? This is it, the Air Eraser. It's basically a mini sandblaster in the shape of an airbrush. I picked this up from Harbor Freight for about 40 bucks. You can get a Pache or a couple other expensive brands, but they're about 150 bucks, and there's no reason to spend that kind of money on something I don't use very often. This is a great tool for weathering. I simply put baking soda in the little canister there. I pick up a 13-pound bag of baking soda at Costco for like 8 bucks. It does take a while, only because you go through that baking soda pretty fast. Crank up the air compressor to 65 pounds, blast away. It eats right through the paint, the decals, but it does not affect any of the details such as the rivets. I've done window sills on passenger cars with it with no damage, so it's a great little tool. And you can see here that it takes the lettering and numbers right off down to bare brass. After both sides were stripped, I washed the shell and painted it with Scale Code 2 black. I did not use a primer. The decals were going to pretty much go in the same spot as the previous numbers and letters, so the black was good enough. Microscale decals. I used Walther's Solvaset as a setting solution. I've tried the microscale stuff, but have never really liked it. I do thin my Solvaset 50-50 with alcohol because I found that it's a little too strong, and for delicate stripes or numbers, it kind of eats them away and shrivels them up too bad. So I've used the Solvaset with an alcohol dilution, and seems to work perfect for me. I've been using that for, I don't know, 20-25 years. I did the same thing on the engine. I used the air eraser to blast off the ATSF and the numbers, and it was ready for decals. One of the most tedious steps is the numbering, because the decal sheet does not have specific numbers, so each of the little numbers I had to do one by one. Big numbers not too bad on the back of the tender. Sunset didn't put anything on the back, so I had to do the numbers and the numbers with all the specs at the top there. That was pretty tedious, and I could only do a few at a time, let them dry, and then put a couple more on and let those dry and whatnot. But numbering and renumbering with decals is usually a pretty tedious process and can drive you nuts at some times. Even though this was the first steam engine I've ever weathered, I knew that I was going to need a roller stand. So I built this specifically for this project, and right before I started weathering it, because you really need to get that running gear and those drivers moving. It makes it much easier to get it consistent and to get the right look, because you know, when it gets dirty in real life, the thing is moving, the sand's blowing all over. So I wanted to make sure that I could spin the drivers to hit it with the airbrush and the regular brush with the pan pastels. It's all pan pastels, 3 or 4 colors. I did use the airbrush for dull coat before and then after the pastels to seal everything up, and there was also a sand colored dust that I sprayed over with the airbrush once I was done with the pan pastels. I put the roller stand on a Lazy Susan so I could spin it and not have to handle the engine at all while airbrushing or using the pan pastels. And I use photo references. You can see in the background there. I have a pretty good Santa Fe library, so I had some good pictures to go by. Anytime you're weathering, no matter what it is, it always helps if you have a photo reference to go by instead of just trying to make something up. So you can see the photo, and there was a couple different ones of the 5021 in Belen, New Mexico that I was trying to duplicate. So I just set them up right there, and I could work and look at the photos as I went along.